Okay, so what is an essay? Right? And all this is designed to help you guys. Okay, we're almost there. We're getting to the end. I'm trying to help you guys, believe it or not. Okay, an essay is a relatively short piece of writing on a particular topic, which you guys are doing. And by relatively short, I mean that's 5, 10, 15 pages is considered relatively short. Not even like a page or two. Okay, depending on where you are in your academic career or why you are writing. Okay. Essay literally means attempt or try, right? So you are trying to write an essay, okay? Written by someone attempting to explore a similar topic or answer a question, which is basically what all of you guys are doing with this final paper. Why bother? Okay, most of the time, because you have to. Does anybody write on their own? Yeah.
Just to write?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Okay, good. We'll see if I can't maybe change your mind a little bit here towards the end. Okay. Generally, students believe essays are important to demonstrate knowledge to a teacher or professor. I will tell you, quite simply and maybe even dangerously, that's wrong. Okay. Even if you have to, right? It's not a great way to look at it. Why do we write? The primary reason you write is so the writer can formulate and organize an informed, coherent, sophisticated set of ideas about something important. Right? You're actually trying to figure something out. Remember your name?
Sean.
Sean, that's right. Okay, good. Writing separates you from those who don't. You will actually be more productive in your life if you can write. You'll also be less ignorant on the topic. I let you choose your topic, right? Okay, so that's hopefully because you're at least somewhat interested in it. It is self-serving, and that's perfectly okay. How many of you write things down so you can remember it? That's why we write. Okay? You can write way more than you can remember. You can also move your ideas around and rearrange them. Okay? So, the person who can formulate and communicate the best argument almost always wins. Right? If you actually want to be better, if you want to win an argument, write it down. Okay? If you want a job, you have to make a case for yourself. If you want a raise, you have to convince someone you deserve it. If you're trying to convince someone to accept your idea, you have to debate the merits of your idea successfully, especially if there are other ideas. So you actually need to take the time, plan, and write. If you want a raise, you got to convince somebody. If you want a job, you got to submit a resume, right? That's at least the first part of who you are. And if you write a cover letter, that will also help you organize your thoughts. So if you get an interview, you can go in and talk about that. If you learn to write and edit, you'll be able to tell the difference between good ideas, intelligently presented, and bad ideas from unskilled thinkers. This is the difference between social media. Right? A lot of times, all we see is a headline, and we think that's fact or news. Right? But if you actually go and read, you can see, is it real or not? Oftentimes, you guys write about PETA or bring up PETA. And a lot of their articles, they don't have factual information. And if you go read that, you can see it. Okay? A lot of it is just emotionally charged or opinion. So it helps you form a counter-argument if you want to argue against PETA. Right? Separate from the wheat from the chaff. Anybody know what that means? Ag majors? Nobody? Nobody knows the wheat from the chaff? Has nobody heard this before? When you grow wheat, you have to separate the wheat from the chaff, the part you actually use from the chaff, which is just part of the plant. Okay? You can be properly influenced by profound and solid ideas instead of falling prey to fads and whims. Okay? Those who can think and communicate are simply more powerful than those who cannot. Powerful in a good way, being able to, I clearly forgot a word there, being able to do a wide range of things competently and efficiently, right? The more you advance in your careers, right, with well-formulated thoughts, the more important thinking and communicating become. No matter what career you go into, you're going to keep moving up, hopefully, right? And you're going to actually need to be able to have good ideas, right? And you need to be able to articulate them. This is not just for a class. This is for you guys after graduation and going in the real world, okay? It becomes more important the more you advance. You can also defend yourself or friends and family when thinking and communicating are necessary. What are the benefits? Your brain, your mind is actually organized verbally. We all think with words, right? So learning to think through writing, you will develop a well-organized and efficient mind. Writing will actually help you become smarter, believe it or not. Some of you don't believe me. Some of you are about to write a paper and you're going to learn a lot about a certain topic. And oh my goodness, you're now smarter on that topic. Right? Most of you do it because you have to. Okay? You won't stop and work. You'll be healthier, believe it or not, mentally and physically. But the lack of clarity and ignorance means unnecessary stress. And if you actually have your thoughts organized, it will help you out. Unless you want to stay unhealthy and ignorant, learn to write. Which is why we're here, right? I'm making you guys better. You didn't even know, did you? Better life. What's up, Ken? Okay, so you can take over the world. Don't underestimate the power of words. Words matter. I think I touched on this last week, okay? Rome built an empire, they're gone. Jewish people wrote a book, still around. Okay? There's a difference. When writing an essay, you're harnessing the full might of culture to your life. The world is at your fingertips. There's a billion resources you guys will find, right? When you start looking for your citations, and Google Scholar or the SAM library will tell you that there's 100,000 results or whatever. That is a ton of information. Try to forget that you're doing something stupid and trivial because you have to. That's why I let you guys choose your own topics. I hope it's actually interesting to you guys. You are conquering the unknown. A couple notes about technology and time. The computer does not write for you. It also does not edit for you. A lot of times you guys get done, hit spell check, and you think you're good. Okay? Please don't do that, especially for this paper. Hopefully with all the examples I've shown you, you've seen what happens if you do that. How many of you think, oh man, I'm off on Friday. That gives me all day to write the paper. Does anybody ever think that? Yeah? Do you have nothing to do, Kenton?
No, I be having stuff to do, but I'll wait like, 6 hours. I'd wait one day, I didn't have nothing to do. And I tried to write a paper, and I was just like, I can't do this.
Right.
I didn't turn it until like 3 o'clock in the morning.
How many of you think you put it off because you're like, oh, I've got plenty of time to do this? Do you ever sit down at large chunks of time? Do you ever sit down and write for 2 hours? No. Good. I hope so. That's a good thing. Okay? Most of them don't. Okay. No, and we're all guilty of it, right? We're all guilty of trying to do it at the last minute. Or you think, I'll have more time later. Do we ever have large chunks of time sitting around and do nothing? And if we do, are we going to watch Netflix or are we going to sit down and write?
I'm going to go fish.
We're going to go Netflix probably, right? Yeah, okay, go fish, whatever, fine. So plan ahead. Even if you spend 15 minutes between classes or whatever, writing some stuff down, that will help you with your paper, okay? Take a few minutes, get some thoughts down. Every word counts. Your word selection matters. I showed you those terrible examples, right? That had all these long sentences and just extra words, okay? You don't have to do that. Right? Your word selection matters. Then craft your sentence. Present a thought or part of an idea grammatically correct. Again, when we saw the bad examples, it was very confusing what they were talking about. Right? Each sentence should be properly arranged and sequenced inside a paragraph. Each paragraph should present a single idea using multiple sentences, of course. Has anybody heard of the 100-word rule? Each paragraph should have around 100 words. Give or take. Now, rules are always meant to be broken, right? But this will help you with your paper. If you have a paragraph and it's less than 100 words, you should probably question if it's actually its own thought or idea by itself. Is it enough to make it its own paragraph? Right? This can also come out to about 10 sentences. I don't subscribe to that. I think that's arbitrary, but it can help you. If all of a sudden you got a paragraph and it's 2 or 3 sentences and you're like, man, I don't know if this is good, it's probably not. Or you need to expand on it. Okay, so consider the 100 words rule. Resolution, right? All of the paragraphs have to be arranged in a logical progression form from beginning to end. A lot of times you guys sit down and just start writing a paper, right? I gotta do it, there's a deadline, and I sit down and I write my paper. I probably even made the comment to some of you on this. A lot of you wrote a really strong conclusion that should have been your opening paragraph. Because you actually took the time to write the paper and then you got to the conclusion, a lot of you write what's actually a pretty good conclusion or a pretty good thesis, right? Or the main point of your whole paper will be the first line of your conclusion. What you absolutely should do is take that out and make that your introduction, because you made your point really well there because you've gone through and at least written something. Okay? So that can honestly be a useful tool. Sometimes it's hard to sit down and start writing. Okay? Don't start with the intro. If you're having a hard time with it, make your main point and start writing from there, and you can go back and work on your introduction. Each paragraph is a stepping stone to your essay's final destination. Each paragraph builds on what you're getting to at the end. How does your essay read as a whole? You guys had to do just simple press releases, right? Good and bad ones. You had to find good and bad ones. So you read a little bit, what's a press release supposed to look like, what's supposed to be in it, and all of you found examples of bad press releases, right? It's the same thing with your essay. Go back and read it. Is it good or bad? You can usually tell if you actually take the time to go back and read it. Right? Consider the audience. Why do you need to know it? If you're interested in the subject, okay, why do they need to know it? Right? Is Emily's yours the koi fish? Okay, so you're curious about koi fish, you want to know it. So you got to consider, why the heck would the audience care about that? Okay, and you're going to have to tell us or tell me. But you got to think, okay, I'm interested in this. This is an important topic, at least for some people. Why do they need to know it? That's for all of your topics. Okay? If you're interested in it, just a little bit, you need to figure out what your audience needs to know. Okay? Don't be boring. Okay? Strive for brevity, right? It means keeping it brief, concise and efficient expression. But don't be afraid to use your language, right? Don't be afraid to make it sound prettier, more interesting, better, okay? That's the poetic aspect of language, all right? If you're bored writing it, you think it's going to be a good essay?
No.
No, because you're bored, right? And you're like, this sucks, and I'm just writing it because I have to, all right? Imagine you're the reader, right? Don't be boring. Again, don't blame me for the topic you chose. I let you guys choose the topic, again, in hopes that you will actually find this interesting and engaging and learn some things along the way, all right? Think about why you chose the topic. What if you were writing about organic food, okay? Which is fine. But as we touched on before, if you're biased going into it, do you think you're going to learn as much? Probably not, okay? So at least have an open, if you want to learn more about organic or non-organic foods or farming or whatever, that's great. But see if there's actually something that you can learn in there. Will it change your opinion? Is there something you aren't considering, right? If you want everybody to eat only organic food, fine, but what are you missing in there, okay? Or conversely, if you don't want anybody eating organic food, right? Fine, then maybe consider why people do that. Right? Finish beats perfect. Turn something in. Now, I put this with a caveat. Please don't give me a crappy paper. Okay? But finish your paper, right? With any assignment. If you turn it in, you're going to get partial credit, all right? Maybe not a great grade, but that's always better than no grade. Always, always, always. All right? Finish your product and finish your assignments. Actually get them in, okay? Did we learn something? I went fast. What did we learn? Don't suck. Absolutely right. Okay, let me get this back on. Okay. Is that helpful? I'm actually going to post something. Those are not my words. That's actually a psychologist named Jordan Peterson. He's written books and he's a famous speaker now and all this crazy stuff. But he wrote that actually. Well, there's more than that. It was a brief summary, but he wrote something like that to try and help students understand why writing is helpful. They actually have a thing that's helpful for people wanting to just improve their mental health, and it's called self-authoring or something like that. But literally just writing things down will help you work through things, okay? If you've ever had a hard decision to make, some of you, hopefully you're gonna have multiple job offers soon, right? Hopefully, right? Then you're gonna have to weigh that out, and you literally might sit down and write out pros and cons, okay? What you wanna do or whatever. That's great, do it, okay? I will give you, it's not required reading, I don't care, but I'll give you his whole thing of how to write an essay. It's a little more lengthy than that, but that's pretty much the highlights of it. Keep it, use it, put it on your laptop, save it, whatever, because you may need it later. Okay? You may need it for work or other classes or whatever. Cool? Okay. And I'll post the slides too if you want there too. So here's what we got to do on Friday. Okay? Most of you are good with your topic. Not everybody has submitted their final topic. Just picking on Ashley because she usually turns everything in. Okay. So make sure you're done. I think I emailed a couple of you. Just the submission didn't work or whatever, so touch base with me, but make sure you get it approved and get it in. And then this is what's due Friday. So I think you touched on this Friday.
I thought it was due the 24th.
No, your final paper. This is the next step.
Oh.
This is the introduction. okay? So you're gonna do, and you can read through this, but you gotta go get your sources, find your main article, go get 15 sources, okay? At least, the more you get, the better. And then you're gonna start on this. If you want, by all means, label each one of these. If you wanna take them out when you get to the final paper, that's fine. If you wanna leave them in, that's fine. But you need to give me each one of these sections, okay? So the background information, this doesn't necessarily have to be the whole thing for your paper, but at least give me some intro, okay? Probably 2 or 3 paragraphs. Couple 3 paragraphs would be plenty, all right? Because this is just your first one, but give me the background information. And you're doing a literature review. That's your research approach. You're doing a literature review, right? So a little bit on the background. Okay, give me a brief history. Okay, the aim of the study. This is pretty short. And again, these are in the example I gave you, the academic writing example. They're right in there. Okay, what's the purpose of your study? The nature of the problem. Okay, these are different. Right? This is what you're trying to figure out, and this is the issue that already exists. This is the problem. And these are relatively short, a few sentences is fine. Some of them are 1 to 2 sentences. Your research approach, again, this is just a literature review, right? Despite what your research article says or whatever, how they did their research, you guys are just doing a literature review. That is your research approach. And include your citations. Okay, have them all in there. For citations, make sure each one is single spaced. Okay, you put a space between them, but each one is single spaced. Each line after the first line is indented, okay? And then they're alphabetical order by the author. Cool. Everybody is pretty good with references. Just make sure you're formatting and writing all that good stuff. Cool. Remember, this is not a persuasive paper. This is informative. But when you get to your conclusion, all right, you can spell out what that conclusion should be, right? If you want, again, if we go back to organic, you want people to eat organic food, you should have spelled that out throughout the entire paper, okay? It's not necessarily persuasive, it's informative. So you're presenting the information that makes organic food look better, okay? Or if you're on the opposite end, okay, we can't eat organic because we're not gonna survive. Okay, fine, make that point with research throughout your paper, okay? And then your conclusion should drive the point home, but you should have told that story already. Sound good? Cool. Questions? None? We're sure. Okay, so here's where we're at. We're getting close to being done. Woo! Okay, so this Friday is your introduction assignment, as you showed you. It's in there. You can read it, read all the details. And then in 2 weeks, your final paper's due. Okay? This is your PowerPoint. It's due on the 30th. Okay? And we'll touch base a little bit more on that next week. It's a pretty easy portion. Okay? You should do pretty well on that. Okay? Questions for me?
Is the 30th the last of us?
It's the last thing you got. You can even turn it in early. Yeah, I'll touch base more on that next week. But yeah, that's all we got. No final or anything. This final paper's it. This final paper's worth a lot of your grade. That's why we take it in steps. That's why I hammer home. I want you to be awesome. Sound good? Yes, ma'am.
So you say literature review, like I've never written that before, so we're picking like an article and basing our whole essay off that?
Yes. So you have one, that's your main theme of your paper. Whether it's for or against, whatever, it doesn't matter, or just presenting information on your topic. The rest of your sources should tell the rest of the story. So let's say there's an article that says we should only eat organic food because it's the healthiest thing for us. Okay? What you probably also need, and that's fine, and you can find maybe 10 sources that say, hey, organic food's great. And you should probably have at least another 5 sources that said, well, can we feed everybody on organic food? Are pesticides and herbicides still used in organic food? Yes, they are. Okay, so you just want to cover the whole element of it.
So should we like put paragraphs or like a page worth of like talking about the one source that everything's based off of?
That will be, that's in your introduction. Okay, so you're gonna give, if we're talking about organic food, we're talking about what it is, and actually all food was organic, right? Up until it wasn't, when we started using herbicides, non-natural herbicides and pesticides. Okay, and then you're gonna, so introduce the topic, okay, and then you're gonna build down to, in your introduction, the main article. you know, this article states that, you know, whatever, and you can paraphrase it however you want to use it. Just make it clear what the topic is, okay, and where you're discussing. Sound good? Good question. Anything else?
The article that we are using,
Mhm.
does it need to be like a Google Scholar?
Try to find a research article. Yes, should be hopefully a unbiased research article as much as you can. And even some research article, I mean, there's bias everywhere, right? And that's fine. But try to get one that is presenting, that is unbiased as possible. Which, here's the dangerous part, because again, organic, multiple, you're right about it, and just an easy example. If you find something online and there's no author listed, right, and it's telling you all the benefits of organic food, do you think that's an unbiased source? No, it's a wholly biased source. There's no author listed, and they're just telling you all the benefits of organic food. If there's an author listed, that will at least give some credence as to who the heck this person is.
What
Right.
if it's like a governmental site, like the EPA or the?
Yeah, and those get used, you guys use government sites, it might be even something related to a ballot measure or something like that, because I think there's one in the academic example. You can use those, just be careful, all right? I wouldn't overly rely on those. Those are more presenting data. So if you want to present data of how many acres of organic food there are from the USDA, that's great, totally fair. That stuff's gonna happen. But it probably should not be your main source. But they're good for data. Yeah. Other questions? Sure? We're good? We're just gonna do this part Friday and wait for a couple weeks anyway, right? Okay. All right, that's all I have. Go be awesome. Have a great rest of your day. And I will